Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the March 13th. Yes, Friday the 13th came on a Wednesday this month. To the Parks and Community Services meeting for the city of San Ramon. So please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Brad, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Madam Clerk, do we have the roll?
Chair Dorlick,
Present.
Vice Chair Mitra,
Present.
Commissioner Breed is absent. Commissioner Lopez Lucy. Present. Commissioner Levy,
Present.
Commissioner Osland. Present. Commissioner Owens.
Here.
And Student Commissioner Tatapali.
Present.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any special items and announcements?
I do, and I think I inadvertently passed my meeting notes down and I
Oh.
put the schedule down here. Julia, thank you. Doing all of those detail managing, that's what she'll be doing for you. And I know that just adds confusion because now we have two Kathys, but suffice to say, if you get Kathy in your email box, it's time to answer. So. I also wanted to make sure that everyone was clear. So we have the teen council screening and interview process. We had to push that back a little bit. So right now we have the screeners as Commissioner Lopez Lucy, Commissioner Osland, and Commissioner Owens. Kathy has the binders to you, so you all can touch base and make that happen. And then Commissioner Breed, Mitra, and Levy will need to finalize the 4 nights that we're going to be doing those interviews. So if you could maybe touch base with Kathy following this meeting and tell her when you're not available. And then lastly, we are going to have a facilities committee meeting for the Ramona Park play structure. We're looking at 3/27, probably like a 4 or 4:30 timeframe. So I will send that all to you in email, but big opportunity for them to make money that then supports our libraries. We've also got the senior foundation.
experience in every part of Gale City and Foundation event the PCS department hosts. Recently, Alejandro has taken on special assignment as facility technician for both the Amador Rancho Community Center as well as the Dory Station Community Arts Center. While one of our full-time staff is out on leave, Alejandro was able to jump into this role, facilitating rental requests from the community at two busy sites seamlessly. On December 2nd, 2023, during the city holiday tree lighting event, Alejandro worked as lead for the facility's logistics, making sure the event setup was done correctly for the multifaceted event. This event required Alejandro to direct 4 temporary staff members through the audiovisual and stage preparations in City Hall as well as Central Park. Alejandro's role was instrumental in the overall success of the event. PCS programs staff were able to rely on Alejandro for a variety of different items as they arose. As program specialist, Alejandro has been an important staff member for general rental inquiries at all 4 community centers and has assisted with the overall oversight of the picnic rental program since 2022. He does an excellent job. I relied on Alejandro. I trained Alejandro, and it is, a huge honor to be here talking about this young gentleman. The City of San Ramon Parks and Community Services Department would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Alejandro for his commitment to excellence throughout the City of San Ramon's facilities.
Excellent. There we have a certificate for you. We had a coffee cup big enough, so in between all those jobs, you can get ready for the next week job.
Thank you so
I'd
much.
like to thank you.
First off, I'd like to say thank you very much. I've been working here for a good amount of years, and so it's an honor to work with the community and give back. And I hope to build a big career here. And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you know what? We're at the favorite time of the meeting where we have public or written comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any?
Not for this item, no.
Okay, so no public or written communication at this time. All right, and we will move on to the approval of the minutes, 6.1. Did everybody have an opportunity to read the minutes, review them? Are there any changes, omissions, additions, rewrites, punctuation errors? Everything look good? All right, do I have a motion to accept the minutes as they are presented?
I move that we accept the January 10th, 2024 minutes as presented.
Second that.
All right, we have a first and a second. And we should have the voting coming up momentarily.
Mhm.
So whoever was a mover needs to hit that, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
Yeah.
Green button.
Yeah, just.
Perfect.
perfect.
All right,
Who seconded?
And then Partha.
so there does need to be group participation.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'll say yes.
But I guess I did.
All right, I think that's 6-0-0 and 2 no votes, okay? Consent calendar. Gosh, I wish we'd have something on the consent calendar one of these days. But the consent calendar, our items are considered routine and are acted upon by the Parks and Community Services with a single action. Members of the audience wishing to provide public input may request that the commission remove the item from the consent calendar. And that is it. So we are going to go right into the good part of the meeting, the commission business. And we're going to start off with 8.1, City of San Ramon Financial Outlook and Funding Needs. Steve?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I actually have been looking forward to presenting to this group. I made it a point to try and show up to each of our commissions and introduce myself after being appointed as city manager. It's been a little crazy, but I'm very happy to be here tonight to talk about this issue. If we can get the PowerPoint up on the screen. We have been conducting over the last year a community outreach effort to start gathering information regarding our financial outlook and funding needs, and basically getting the word out to the community about a story that we haven't really told a lot in San Ramon. Where we stand as compared to other cities, our financial situation. Staff has always done a great job throughout the years here in San Ramon of doing a lot with a little. And tonight, we have this presentation, financial outlook in funding needs. But as I mentioned, we do like to refer to this as like the story of San Ramon, the untold story. Joining me this evening, he'll pop up from time to time, is Scott Cole, our new Deputy City Manager, if you haven't met him yet, just started in October. And also with us this evening in the crowd is Simone Finney, our communications analyst and community outreach analyst. You may see weekly email updates and other postings. That comes from Simone's realm, and really appreciate her efforts in putting this together. Tonight, an overview of the presentation. We'll be presenting the financial context of the city, highlighting some of our accomplishments over the years, some of the challenges that we've experienced, community priorities that we have learned so far with this year-long outreach effort, some of the options that we have to address our financial situation. And then at the end, the most important part of the evening is hearing back from you, your comments, anything else you can think of, we'd appreciate in terms of feedback. And I do have some items that we can go over, some tools that we're using to get feedback from the community. So a brief financial overview of the city. We have 40+ funds in the city, and all funds are unique in nature and tied to specific programs and services. But the one fund that we're going to talk about this evening, I would argue the most important fund in the city is the general fund. Our general fund expenditures for this year is an approved $71 million. And that fund can be used on anything that the city council authorizes. That is our fund that we use primarily to fund our parks programs, our parks maintenance, streets and roads, police services. So the big 3P, the public works, police, and parks come out of the general fund. Our staffing situation, currently the budget includes 285.75. I still need to figure out that 0.75 of a person, full-time equivalent FTE positions in the city. And we have an average vacancy rate of about 8% at any given time. It just takes a while to hire people, as you know, and going through those motions. The council has a reserve fund policy of maintaining a 36% reserve of the general fund. So that means at any given time, we have about $20 million in the reserve in case of an emergency, a pandemic, a downturn in the economy. I shouldn't say, another pandemic, but we didn't have to drop too far down into the reserves with the last one. But it is our emergency fund in case there's any unforeseen circumstances in the city. So drilling down into that revenue of the general fund, you'll notice on the previous slide, we had an expenditure this year of $71 million. On this slide, it shows the general fund revenue with this year being at $67 million. So we do have a shortfall every year in our general fund that we try to figure out how to make up in one way or the other. But to break down that $67.6 million general fund, we did break it down into several categories here. First, we have property tax, which makes up the largest portion of our general fund at 37% of the general fund. And we label this source in the general fund as a stable source. Property tax generally doesn't have a large swing one way or the other, upwards or downwards. During the 2008 downturn and the mortgage crisis, there was a sharp downturn. But typically, property tax is relatively on a slow and steady increase. So we consider that stable. Sales and use tax, we were at $13.3 million for this year, which is about 20% of the general fund. And that is off of a current rate of 8.75% for sales tax. We consider that source volatile. It depends on the market. It can go up and down. cities with larger sales tax pools experience more violent ups and downs. It almost looks like an EKG chart sometimes of big dips and big spikes. We're relatively stable, although we are small. Moving on, we have our service fees at 6.8 million. That's 10% of the general fund, and that pattern is also volatile. Service fees could be parks and recreation fees. It could be permitting fees, kitchen remodels, building permits, items like that. So again, when there's a downturn or something like a pandemic happens and people decide not to spend money or they can't, that impacts our service fees. Franchise fees is at 8%. That's relatively stable. That's mostly our garbage franchise fee. So that's a contract basis with the garbage contractor, and that's usually pretty stable. And then we have hotel tax at 2.2 million, or 3% of the general fund. We consider that a volatile source in the general fund. Prior to the pandemic, it was around 4 million. When the pandemic hit, our hotel tax went down to 0. Essentially, because the hotel's closed, nobody's staying there, no taxes. You're not collecting what we have right now at 7.25% hotel tax rate, which is also extremely low in California for hotel tax. The rest of the Tri-Valley is in the 8 or 9% rate. There are other areas. If you go to Anaheim, San Francisco, that's 14. That's that lovely charge you get at the end of your hotel bill that you didn't expect when you thought it was $250 a night, and then they start charging on top of that. That's one of the taxes. So we're extremely low in our hotel tax. And then finally, our miscellaneous source of the general fund, which is 14.5 million, 21% of the general fund. It could be grants, other revenue, other unstructured sources that we receive for the general fund. Moving on to our property tax. For every dollar that is collected in property tax, we do not receive 100% of that. That's sometimes a misconception that all property tax goes to the city. You can see before I zoom in here, the highest recipient is our school districts at 45 cents on the dollar. Then you have the the fire district at 15 cents. You have the county at 12, and then the city at 10 cents on the dollar. Then you have other agencies, the community college district and the parks district, East Bay Regional Parks District at 3 cents on the dollar. So we receive not the largest portion of your property tax dollar. Speaking of property tax, this chart shows the cities in the Tri-Valley, plus we compare ourselves to Walnut Creek. They are the closest in terms of population. Well, they were at one point, we're about 10,000 over, but we are compared to Walnut Creek along that 680 corridor for property tax. On this chart, Pleasanton is at the top at about 80 million. Then you have Dublin, Livermore, Walnut Creek, and then San Ramon at the previously mentioned 20 million mark, and then Danville just below about 15 million. Pleasanton, they do have the Ruby Hill area. They have for lack of a better term, the mansions on the west side over by Stone Ridge Mall. So they have a lot of very large houses, very valuable areas that came in high in the property tax. San Ramon, we're very stable. We don't see a lot of turnover here. So it's great. People want to live here. They want to stay here. They don't want to move. So when people don't move, you don't see that new assessment on the property tax. I'm not advocating, hey, please move so we get more property tax, but that's one of the side effects of having such a great place to live is the values in the property tax are staying relatively flat. Moving on to sales tax. As I mentioned earlier, we're at 8.75% for our sales tax. We do not receive the lion's share of that, quite the contrary. We receive about 1% of the sales tax here in San Ramon. That is the base sales tax for the county. That is the lowest sales tax rate that you will see. I think it is San Ramon and Danville are the only ones left at 8.75. Walnut Creek just passed a 0.5-cent sales tax, so they are now higher. If you move over to our neighbors to the south in Alameda County, they're at 10.5. compared to our 8 3/4. I would like for them to increase it by 25 cents more so we can have a nice campaign of Shop San Ramon, save 2% on all your purchases. And I think they are considering raising their tax rates as well. But it's very rare that you have any city that doesn't have a specific sales tax or tax associated to help with the budget. I don't believe that we've, other than a landscaping and lighting district, have ever had a San Ramon specific general tax. And even then, the landscaping and lighting isn't a general tax. It gets better or worse, depending on how you want to classify it. There is a sales tax sharing agreement in Bishop Ranch. Bishop Ranch does not receive the sales tax. I want to be clear about that. It was part of the deal with the county to annex Bishop Ranch into the city. They retain half of all of the sales tax generated within the Bishop Ranch area. So our 1% goes down to a 0.5% for everything in Bishop Ranch. That leads to this chart, our sales tax chart. You can see at the top is the city of Livermore at about 40 million a year. They have auto dealerships, an outlet mall, 2 casinos, generating sales tax for the city. So they are the sales tax leader in the Tri-Valley, followed by Dublin, and then, Pleasanton, Dublin, and Walnut Creek. And then you see a large drop off to where we are in San Ramon at 13 million. Every auto dealership that you see in a city generates about 1 million each in terms of sales tax. We do not have an auto dealership in San Ramon. We don't have the space on the freeway. We don't have the space in town. It's just how we're structured, unfortunately. So that explains the gap there. The one item that I do want to mention, and you can see a little bit in the chart here in 2020 with the pandemic, when you do have a lot of sales tax, the dips, you do notice the dips more. That's a good 5-10 million swing in that. So to at least speak a little bit optimistic about our situation, we might be smaller in sales tax, but at least we're stable. And then moving on to adopted general funds, that slide that I showed in the beginning, our most precious of all funds. Comparing us to other cities, you have Pleasanton with $140 million general fund compared to our 70, so double that. Then you have followed by Livermore, Dublin, Walnut Creek, and then you have us around the 70 million mark. This, if you survey people or just ask around town or in the Tri-Valley, there's the assumption that because of our level of service, our great parks, our streets and roads, our public safety, we must be at the top of all these charts, but we're not. And this isn't really an apples to apples comparison. It's more of an apples to oranges a little bit because of some of the different services that cities provide. But I call it's not an apples to trombones. So it's not that far off. It shows you a scale of, the cities, Pleasanton at 140 million, they may provide different services, but at that level of a general fund, they have a bit more wiggle room when they need to pare back. Us at half of that rate to pare back when times are tough, the cuts become tougher. Next, our business license comparison. On the left is Livermore at 7 million, Pleasanton at about 5 million, followed by Walnut Creek just under 3. Danville is next, surprisingly, at just over 300,000, followed by Dublin, and then San Ramon were a little bit below 300,000. Now, why is this? There are 3 ways that you can put a charge on the business license process. One is you can charge for the actual hours it takes for an employee to issue that business license. That's what we do. That's what Dublin does, and that's it. As a matter of fact, for small businesses, we subsidize that cost. It's cheaper than what it actually costs us to issue that. Now, the next thing that you can do, in addition to the charge for issuing, you can charge a per employee charge on that bill, say $10. That's what Danville does. So they have very few employees, but that vaults them over us. And then Walnut Creek, Pleasanton, and Livermore, in addition to the issuance and the per employee, they charge a certain percentage based on gross annual sales over a certain amount. So say 10 million. If your company has over 10 million in sales, they'll take a small percentage of that. And that's what shoots the business license revenue up for those cities. So again, we're at the bottom of the chart in terms of our revenue, compared to the other cities in the Tri-Valley. So we might be short on revenue, but we are very large, in my opinion, on the accomplishments over the years. I've been here now with the city going on 23 years. I've seen, as some of you have been here longer as residents, there have been a lot of changes in San Ramon, and we are very proud of what we've accomplished with such limited resources. As you are well aware of our 58 parks, we are very proud of the distance to a park for every resident. And I think the vast majority, 90 or 95, are within a 5-minute walk of our, 375 acres of parks. We were able to build a new public safety building without any ask from the residents. Usually a project like that, a city has to go out for a bond or an increase in sales tax to build something like that. We were able to do that in a partnership with the fire district. This building, we didn't have to go out for any additional revenue. It was a land swap with Bishop Ranch, and we were able to construct a new city hall. Our roads, we have 240 miles of streets and roads, and our current pavement condition index is 78, or the score is 78 out of 100. The average is, Bay Area average is around 67. At one point, we were in the 80s, but because of our budget shortfalls, that road condition is starting to drop. We're anticipating it will be in the 77 and 76% range in the near future. And to get to the next level, the next percentage point takes about $3 million of extra spending. That's why we have been trying to maintain it at a certain level, because once it drops, like everything else, it's very difficult to get it back. The Iron Horse Trail, Bollinger Canyon Road overcrossing, I'm pleased to announce that it's on time, on schedule, at least for now. Hopefully it stays that way, and we'll have a ribbon cutting around this time, a little bit later next year. That was without any ask from the residents directly. I also like to point out our pensions for city employees are fully funded pensions. We have a fully funded obligation. That's very rare for cities. Most cities are still incurring that pension debt and don't have a plan to pay it off. Our city leaders 10, 15 years ago recognized this and started a long and thoughtful plan to address that, and we're fully funded. And then our public safety, highlighting, we received the 10th safest city in the United States from SafeWise in 2022. I would like to argue we're probably in that 10th, if not top 5 every year, but it's based on their metrics. We are a very safe city. And we also recently received a $5.7 million grant for a retail theft prevention task force for our PD. We've been able to do a lot with a little bit, a lot of accomplishments. But the next slide, Scott will take over. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk at this point, and he will provide an overview of some of our challenges and additional information about our situation.
This is the part where I how we arrived at this point.
Oh, thank you. I'm so new, I didn't even know I had to turn this on. Or the password. But so let me walk you through some of, also by way of introduction. I grew up in local government through the finance department. So this is actually one of my favorite parts, while it can be a little telling. I think in the case of the city of San Ramon, it's really important to see what has been done studiously and quite attentively to some of the challenges that every city in California faced. But go with me as I take you on the journey that I learned about the city's finances. So This slide is actually starting where we all remember with the Great Recession of 2008. Every city, not just in California, struggled with how to balance the books when the bottom fell out of revenue. And with that, in the city of San Ramon, we started with an initial $3.5 million cut to the budget right out of the gate, which, as you can imagine, anytime when you have a sort of structured, very consistent revenue and expenditure profile like this city did, taking a hit of $3.5 million right off the top can be a challenge. But as is often the case, and it is very clearly true in San Ramon, the staff here realized the challenge, stepped up, and absorbed, which is why you really didn't see a lot of the same consequences that other cities faced, right? A really great PCI, as the city manager said, really great parks that were maintained. All those things happened even with less money. What that really means is people did double duty. And as you can see, as we make our way to 2010 and beyond to 2014, more positions were frozen. So fewer people doing more work. That is the thing we have all heard, the less is more. You can do that for a while. I like to use the analogy, certainly someone could sprint a marathon, but it's not a good idea. That's what happens when you're in the less is more. 32 frozen positions. It represented 12% of total staffing. Oh, thank you. That's right.
You can click or I can click.
I
It doesn't matter.
can. So 32 frozen positions, it represents 12% of total staffing in the city. That is a significant cut, but it was important at that time to balance the books. As we look at 2014, we move our way. You look at the span of 2008 to 2014, this city did something that is remarkable. A 20% budget reduction over that span, representing $19 million. That is a considerable undertaking, and did that with, as you saw in the accomplishment slide, all of these things are building, right? They don't happen overnight. You don't build a city hall, a police department overnight. These are all plans. They're meticulously reviewed. And when you're making a cut like that and still making things happen, that's what makes this so important. And to maintain the quality of services that you see, the quality of life that we have here in San Ramon, this is a testament to not one, but multiple sleepless nights, people having to make hard decisions, but doing it for the long-term viability and success of the city. And this, I think, is just a testament to former councils and the current council just making regular, consistent, good decisions about our financial situation. Now we sort of move forward in time to 2020. We know what happens. It's the pandemic. The world came to a standstill. What happened? Cities again had to dial back. This wasn't a new narrative in the city of San Ramon. Our particular version was, and we were quite fortunate, the city manager uses this great analogy, which you'll see in a minute, about stone skipping. Once you've cut pretty significantly and you're not rebounding quickly, now you get into a situation where you need to start looking at all of your options. And in the pandemic, one option that came to our rescue, a stone skip, was the federal government with ARPA grant funding. That was to the tune of $8.1 million. It helped maintain services. It got us to the next phase in our financial life. That is 2021, 2022. As you heard the city manager say earlier, we're routinely, kind of every year, consistently seeing about a $3 million deficit. In 2022, there it is, another $3 million. We balance it by using some benefit reserves. Actually, that is another thing that I thought was astounding and important to highlight. A 36% reserve limit is special. That means that this council understands the importance of a rainy day fund. That's what 36% represents. The Government Finance Officers Association, this is a kind of international finance nerd group that I belong to, that actually spells out that 16% is pretty standard. So being at 36% is really smart. And what it does is set you up for success to sort of level out the turbulence that one can experience as anything goes when you're at a $70 million budget. So As I referenced earlier, this is a city manager's image that I think is really important to understand in a nutshell what happened in the city of San Ramon. We were very fortunate in 2019, didn't plan for it, but the state said, we kept too much of your sales tax money. Here's a little bit back. It was to the tune of 2 million.
2 million. Yeah.
And then in 2022, we had ARPA funding that, we realized 8.1 million. And then in 2022, 23, we used benefit reserves. That was because we had built it up. We spent a little bit of that to keep everything going, which.
And to add to that, this year, we're in the budget process now, and we haven't identified the stone skip. Quite the opposite. The slide that Scott showed with the 2022, where we had 3 million in a reserve fund that we can draw down on, that's gone. And we also experienced 3 million in unrealized or unexpected sales tax. Our sales tax estimate's actually dropping a little bit. So the COVID bump is gone. It is now going down. Not to gloom and doom the situation, but this year we are seeing challenges that we haven't really had to meet in recent times.
Well said. So it's an important moment to pause and talk about some opportunities that the city could consider if looking at how do we sort of get ourselves in the, back to that $3 million, sort of fill in that void. One opportunity, of course, people think is, well, why not build your way out of it? Why not attract more businesses here, drive up that sales tax, and problem solved, right? Great idea, theoretically. Now we have to talk about reality. We have done as a city, our role you'll see in the bottom, our planning commission has done an amazing job. Our council has done an amazing job to plan and zone for the spaces that are retail. We've done our part. Now it's left to the people who own the property and who own the business. Now they agree. That's the handshake you see there. It's really important to understand that that's where the work gets done. Attracting the business is the city's role. Keeping the business is a part of the city's role, but it's also this other relationship that's well outside our control. That's the property owner and the business owner coming to an agreement and sort of making that happen. That's part one. Part two is, do we even have space for someone to move into? And this is another incredible thing about the city of San Ramon. Where I have worked previously, it was double digits. The vacancy rate would be in double digits. Here it's 5.5%. That's incredible. It's really low. It's essentially zero, right? In those terms, it's just not a lot of space. So that is another constraint for a business looking to move here is, do we have a space available that fits their needs in a location they want, hitting the demographic profile that they want? Do we have that? And when you're at a retail vacancy rate of 5.5%, the answer is probably not, but we do have that space, and we always remain optimistic that we'll attract somebody and we will be the right suitor. So this is the most important slide. What do we face now? The challenges that we are looking at today, as with any city, any individual living in California, our challenges are sometimes consistent. We've experienced them over many years. Some of them are new and evolving. And so maintenance costs, that's a thing everyone in California is facing with the cost of living, with inflation driving up every cost that we know to maintain our roads, maintain our buildings, maintain anything. The cost today is more than it was a decade ago. So that's our first challenge. Second challenge, of course, being staffing. In a competitive recruiting market, as we are clearly in the Bay Area, the challenge we have is as a certain group, a certain cohort retires or has the opportunity to move, what happens is we'd have to replace, and that brain drain is what we call it. You lose a lot of institutional knowledge, and that is costly because the rebound effect, the amount of energy and time it takes to get back to kind of stable functioning is a challenge, not insurmountable, but it's important to understand it's not always a direct dollar value, but it's the drain on resources to bring someone up to speed. So that's a challenge that every city is facing. And then on top of that, in the macro, we learned from Goldman Sachs, who did a study on this, that people, whether they like their job or not, are actually leaving every 3 years. So there's an interesting, new kind of trend line that people are studying and realizing. Service levels. As costs go up and revenues remain flat, the challenge will always be, how do we keep this quality of life, this level of service? How do we keep it where it is? Because it's just more expensive to do the same thing. So that will always be a challenge, especially as we see an 8% vacancy rate. If that number were to, climb to double digits, as some cities in the Bay Area are facing, just getting the work done with fewer people because you have empty seats is a challenge. So that's a really important thing. Last, but certainly not least, forces that are outside our control. One thing that I just learned recently is in the month of February, our city, thanks to our IT department, stopped $1.1 million attempts at cybersecurity threats, essentially, on our servers, people trying to use passwords that they secured on the dark web, et cetera. We thankfully have a very proactive IT department who has set up an entire architecture to prevent it. But when you hear a number like 1.1 million attempts on our servers trying to get our information, this is a threat that we can do something about, but it is an ever-present threat. Costs of cybersecurity insurance in California are going up. Our insurance in general is going up. That isn't because of the city of San Ramon. It's because of wildfires. It's because of all kinds of other issues that we're all facing when we buy insurance. Automobile insurance has gone up. Fire insurance has gone up. For a city, it's our cybersecurity. And generally in the state of California, lawsuits are more expensive. They used to be, 4-digit settlements. Now they're sometimes 5- and 6-figure settlements, and we are part of a risk pool. So whether it is us or not, and very often it is not because our risk profile is very low, the costs to settle as part of this risk pool that we are in get redistributed to the entire group that's in that pool. So our insurance goes up because everybody in the pool represents a risk. So it's all of these things that are outside of our control. We can do our best to manage our risk. We can do our best to make sure that we are secure in our cyber world, but there's still these challenges of the outside world. And of course, inflation. And when the state of California and the folks at PERS decide to change a discount rate, which is really just a way of saying, we don't think we're going to see the rate of return that we need, then they change the rate. That automatically and immediately impacts the city. These are all things that every single year our finance department, the city manager's office, and a whole host of people have to actively monitor because it's a challenge. But that isn't a doom and gloom scenario. It's actually just a reality that you have a lot of attentive human beings paying attention to these problems and positioning. The name of the game is flexibility. And so that's kind of the point of this slide. So thank you very much.
All right. As I mentioned before, we've been conducting over the last year a community outreach effort. We conducted several one-on-one interviews with community members. We had a voter poll go out last fall, and we are currently in the process of an online city survey. I have these cards here. They're in the back. They're at every city facility. I'll leave a stack here if you'd like to take some and pass them out to your friends and family. We also have, hopefully you all received this in the mail. It was not a campaign brochure. I know it went out at about the same time, but big oak tree with a card that people can detach. I almost detached my sample there and send in. I think Simone has a stack about yay high now on her desk with the cards. And we're in the process of gathering information about what is really important to the community. And the 3 community priorities, and I mentioned this earlier, consistently we're hearing love the parks and open space and the parks offering. Thank you for volunteering your time to make San Ramon better. and to guide us in that process. It really is paying off. We have a second to none Parks and Community Services program here. Another service that is high on the list is the public safety. People feel safe here. We have a great police department. Most cities have vacancies that they cannot fill. In San Ramon, when we have a vacancy, we have more candidates consistently than we do open positions, which is unheard of in the Bay Area, the consistency that we have that. So we've become a destination community for high quality police officers. And our streets and roads, they're very happy with the conditions. We take care of graffiti within 24 hours. Graffiti comes up, we'll make sure we get it down. As I mentioned before, our streets are wonderfully paved. Our landscape districts keep the city about as litter free as I see in any community. When I give tours to outside, other city members or elected officials, I challenge them to find litter while we're driving around. And if we do, our police services will be out there drawing a little chalk line around the litter and doing the DNA swab to see who dropped that in the gutter, so we can make sure that person is thoroughly admonished. So yes, the three community priorities that have come out in the survey so far, and we have more surveys to go before the next step in the process. We do have options, and right now staff is in the process of gathering all the data that the city council needs to make a decision. On the left here, you see the options, and on the right are the potential impacts. So one option is, austerity measures, which are intentional reductions in our current expenses. And that basically leads to budget cuts or lowering our service levels or outright removing service levels to make ends meet. Another option is a revenue measure. The council could consider placing a revenue measure on the ballot. It could be sales tax, could be property transfer tax, increasing the hotel tax, or increasing our business license fee. All four of those options must go to a vote of the people. But the only one right now that would actually make a difference in our budget would be the sales tax in terms of moving the needle. If a revenue measure is passed, the outcome, of course, is we would have the revenue to maintain our current levels of service. And then finally, the third option is the hybrid/other. It's a combination of cost cutting, potential full cost recovery. We're in the middle of a citywide fee study to determine what it actually costs for us to provide services and if we're charging enough. And the outcome of a hybrid other model is it's uncertain. You don't know where cuts are going to come from. You don't know when the revenue's coming in. That's basically the model that we've been operating on under the last 10 or 15 years, is this kind of hybrid space that we're working in achieving additional revenues, making minor, depending on the year, service level reductions, and then moving on our way. But we are predicting that in the future, we're starting to run out of the stone skips. We're starting to run out of the funding. So it brings us to our conclusion tonight, where feedback is extremely important. That's why we are here tonight. We are listening. We want your opinion. We're presenting this presentation to any and all groups that are willing to listen over the next 3 or 4 months. No decision has been made yet. As I mentioned, the community listening is ongoing. We provided an update to the council in February at their retreat, and they will not see the results of this or need to make a decision until July, end of June, but by July 1st. If they decide to move forward with a revenue measure, if they make that decision in July, it would go on the November ballot. By law, it has to go on a general election ballot. It can't go on a special election ballot. So as you know, there's really not going to be much of interest on the 2024 November ballot. So if there is a sales tax measure, that would be on that ballot as well. Once that decision is made, no city resources can be used to promote a measure. So it will be hands off from city staff and city resources. It will be up to a community group to form if they wish to promote this. But that would be in July, again, if there is a decision. Your feedback is extremely helpful, and at this point, I will conclude the presentation, and if you have any comments, more than happy to answer questions, go back to whatever slide you like, or if you think of something later, please feel free to contact me. I believe you all have my contact information. If not, I will make sure that you get it shortly. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will start with clarifying questions from the commission and then move on to public comment. So do any members of the commission have any clarifying questions? Yes, Commissioner Owen.
Thank you for the presentation. I just had one. When we talk about vacancy rate, how are we actually measuring that? So is that just spaces occupied over spaces available? Because, I go over to Marketplace and they're obviously trying to build something else pretty vacant. So I'm just curious how we get to 5% there.
Yes, it is that basic calculation, but also you may see some storefronts that are currently leased. So if there is a lease, but they're not in yet, that's included in that calculation. To start a restaurant or another service, you may see that it's leased for months before you see any other activity. So that's where that comes into play. It's almost detrimental to have such a low vacancy rate because we do get people, businesses that want to open up here, they just can't find the space. So yeah, I think it's great that we're close to zero, but it would be nice to have more options available.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any, yes. question?
Scott, great presentation. Scott, too, great presentation. Two questions. Number one is one of the slides you showed the general fund revenue for all the comparable cities, like starting from Livermore to Danville and on that. I was just looking for rather than total 140 and 70 comparison, just wanted to do per capita. So do you have that data for how many people, residents in the center? I mean, I just wanted to compare from Livermore to, because these numbers doesn't make much sense unless I know how many people we are talking about here.
I don't have the breakdown of per capita right now off the top of my head, but Livermore officially we're around 86,000 in population. Livermore's at 91. Pleasanton is slightly lower, I think, at about 84, 85. So per capita, we would be very close in terms of the general.
Yeah, so it's not like Livermore is double our size.
No, we are officially, and this is according to the League of California Cities, we are now a large city. They have small, medium, large, and very large, I think it is. Yeah, I always say like Biggie size or something like that. But we have entered into the large cities. So there are 4 large cities in Contra Costa County, Antioch, Concord, Richmond, and now San Ramon. That's part of the issue is that we've grown so much. We still have a lot of the medium city methods and revenue sources. We just haven't really kept up with that growth. And now we're starting to see the pinch.
Yeah, so it looks like from your data that per capita wise, we are really low.
Very low. Yeah, that would be another bottom out chart.
Other one I have a questions about 2023 data. I don't know if you talked about it. I didn't see that in the slide. I think 2022, we had around 6 million deficit, something like that. Did I get it correct?
Yeah, 2022, the 6 million deficit was made up with 3 million in a reserve that we were able to draw down on and 3 million in better than expected revenues.
So total 6 million.
Yeah.
Do we have the data for 23?
23, we started out with an $8 million shortfall, and then we're able to defer services and adjust some revenue sources, and then also through vacancies that went unfilled and a few other items, we were able to knock down that number. Now the 8 million is the initial budget. It was the realistic what we should be doing. I would say that the budget that we covered last year was around a structural $3 million shortfall.
Okay.
We were planning on drawing down on a reserve to cover that, but then we, with the 2022-23 budget, when we reconciled that budget, we don't fully expend what we budget. So it's never, hey, if it's $71 million, I don't think we've ever actually spent, or at least in my recollection, spent the full budget. So the prior year, we didn't spend, it was something like $2 million. So we were able to use that surplus for the next year. But you can't count on that because there
Right.
are situations
Just
where you do
probably
need to
one-time thing.
spend. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you,
Sure.
Scott. Thanks, Scott.
Any other commissioners? Any questions? So I've got a couple as far as the forecast goes, as we're looking down the road. I was surprised with the property tax because there is that supplemental property tax in the Doherty Valley, which adds about 0.5%, plus or minus to, the property tax there. That's not necessarily, Dublin, I believe, has some, but I don't think Pleasant and Livermore. So that doesn't have that much of an effect.
No, because we still receive that smaller portion. I believe that goes
To
to
the county?
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. And then from a forecasting standpoint, where do we see the current development that's going on? City Village, City Walk, and then, forecasting in 8 to 10 years with the Chevron Park. Have we kind of put that into the model to see how that either stabilizes or provides, the growth that we're looking for?
Yeah, we are in the process of developing our 5-year forecast. We add that revenue and we do have a forecast for property property tax increase that includes the new valuations that may happen and the new construction. The issue with new construction is there is a lag. So
Sure.
you might see X number of units built. By the time they're assessed, you might get that assessment a year or later, depending on the timing. The city center and Chevron property, that's around 10,000 units that will go in, but that's over a 20 to 30-year period. We're expecting at some point you'll see about an 800 unit clip each year going in, but that will be apartments as well. I'm not totally sure of the valuation of an apartment building versus houses, but that's the portion that we receive of property taxes is so small. That's where that incline is happening, just not at a fast rate.
Okay, all right. And what do you attribute the higher transitory tax on hotels in those other cities? I think it was Livermore, Pleasanton,
Yeah.
about a 2% increase or revenue increase from ours. What do you attribute that to?
That's a decision of the community and the council to put that on the ballot to increase that. The rate that we have right now, we're still researching it, but I'm assuming that was the rate of the TOT tax when we were incorporated into a city. So we inherited that from the county and just never went out to a vote of the people to increase that TOT tax. I know other cities are looking at it in the Tri-Valley because we are just simply lower.
But I mean, the higher vacancy, the higher vacancy, the lower vacancy rate here, higher vacancy rate here, and higher utilization in the other communities. Is there?
Yeah, I don't
thought on
have the
that?
statistics offhand of the it's more of a TOT revenue situation where they see greater revenues because they have more hotels.
Okay.
And that's that's the simple answer
Like
to
more
it.
units.
Yes, and also our TOT tax is largely driven by the Marriott. They're about 46% of the total hotel rooms in the city, and they were heavily reliant on business travel. And then COVID, remote work, they are starting to see an increase in attendance. And as we get more conferences moving in, that San Ramon conference space at the hotel, other than the city of Oakland with the Marriott and a few other hotels, I can't think of any other hotel in the East Bay that has that much conference space with that large of a hotel. So Discover San Ramon is in the process of renewing. They will be renewed next month, and they are going to be conducting a campaign to get more conferences and more businesses to look at holding the conference, in San Ramon. I mean, we should have more. It's a beautiful site with city center and the lake now. If I didn't work here, I would think, wow, that, I'm so used to it. But if I were traveling from a conference, or a site to a conference here, it would be very attractive.
Exactly. Okay, great. If there's no other clarifying questions, do we have any public comment?
We do not have any at this time.
Okay, all right. Any other just general questions from the commissioners?
I have one question. Can I, if I just ask for the future, since our Chair Dorlick mentioned that about the projections, what we look like, the retail is the most lucrative thing for any city to win. Like, all the Livermore, all the car dealership, all the other places on that. We don't have that. We didn't even have the Costco. So the question is, are we thinking about it, planning for it? I mean, there are a lot of construction going on all over. We are building
Yeah.
residential. What you need that? We need 4,500 residents. That's mandated. We need to do that. Are we even thinking about using some of them for retail or big retail, which will serve us long time other revenue as far as revenue is concerned?
It all comes down to the zoning and the available space.
Right.
And through the last general plan update, and this is a whole other hour-long presentation that Commissioner Owens has been through, on the EDAC and other committees that we've presented it to. At one point, to meet our housing needs, we had to rezone a lot of commercial into mixed use. So both residential and retail use. That's what you're seeing at the marketplace. This recent general plan, we were able to rezone some of that land back into full retail, but there is a laundry list of other items, shopping patterns online, big box retailers no longer having big box storefronts, they're downsizing. It's other cities are having that challenge as well. They're going to see a challenge keeping that local revenue. It's just for San Ramon, it's the space and it's the classic real estate location. Next to the freeway with a freeway presence, the retail gravity where people drive to it. That's why locations like the shopping center out in Doherty Valley sometimes struggle because they are so far off the freeway. You have the retailers that have their pin on the map, and then they have their algorithm that looks at the surrounding area, and if it doesn't match what they need, they won't even consider it. So we've had starts and stops with different businesses, and it does get a little frustrating. I always say if there was one, for lack of a better term, city superpower that we could have, it would be to direct, yes, this retailer's coming in here. We will get that. It's just that slide that Scott showed, that partnership between the business owner and the property owner and the right rates. So a lot of factors. Don't want to take up too much time. Thank you.
All right, well, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Is that presentation available on the city website?
Yeah, we should be putting it up shortly. And it also will be clickable. So if you wanted to zoom in on anything,
Okay,
we would have that on there. So,
great. We appreciate that. Thank you very much for taking the time.
thank you.
Yep. All right, well, we will move on to 8.2, Sunrise Ridge Park Sport Field Lighting Schedule.
Kyle, did you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Oh,
I did.
sorry.
Thank you.
You had some
Okay.
feedback.
Yeah. We were just gonna do general feedback, not questions.
Yeah, I asked that and there was.
Well,
no
you
response.
now you phrased it as questions, so that kind of threw me off. So no worries.
Okay,
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry, I got
that's
you just in time. No, thank you for the presentation. I think ultimately, the reason why you're going around to community groups and committees and commissions is to confront two challenges. One is the financial outlook itself, and two is the challenge about how to tell the story about the financial outlook. And I think that second part is the part that should probably be the focus between now and when July or whenever that decision is made, because after that point, it sounds like the city's ability to tell that story to the public becomes severely constrained.
Yes.
So I wish, everyone in the community could hear the presentation that we just went through, because, you've been pitching it to the groups that are most involved in the community. And I think a lot of them are probably very surprised by a lot of the information in that presentation. So I can only imagine what the general, community, what their reaction would be. I think, though, having everyone sit through a PowerPoint presentation and, a wonderfully delivered presentation for
Sure.
you guys, it's not a realistic ask. So if there's a way to maybe condense this into some more bite-sized pieces, like, just a one-sheet infographic or something, a flyer, a 30-second YouTube video, something like that conveys the key points of this, and then get that out to the community now while the flexibility still exists. I think that's probably the most important thing you could do to help get the community in a more open mind for, any requests or asks that come down the pipe. Because right now, I think
a lot of people don't have the context or the background to fully understand the scope of the situation, and communicating that is probably the most crucial thing that could be done.
Yes, thank you. We are planning on, this is just the launch this month with, as you mentioned, the groups that are involved in San Ramon. Over the next few months, we're holding more open community meetings. You will start to see many videos going out. We have many 30-second spots and 1-minute spots of employees that we've interviewed, highlighting some of the great aspects of our city. So yeah, point well taken, and I would not put the general public through a very long.
I wish they would, but yeah.
Yes,
that-
I no, I totally agree. That's always been a challenge in public service.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. One more ask. Any other comments, questions, et cetera? We good? Going once, going twice? All right, sold.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
All right, we will now move on to 8.2 Sunrise Ridge Park Sport Field lighting schedule. I believe Director Hyman, you will lead us in that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, this particular item, the Sunrise Ridge Sports Field, has been it's been years in the making. So when I first dug in and went to go, okay, what is this item? What are we doing with this? I had to go way back to get it, because this all began back in 2006. So just to be clear for this evening, we are recommending that the Parks Commission receive the report this evening, review the written and oral public comment, approve the use of the sports field lighting at Sunrise Ridge between dusk and 10 p.m. daily, or provide direction to staff regarding an alternative light schedule for Sunrise Ridge Park. So this all kind of kicked off in 2006, but really it's a little more recent. Although still 10 years ago, there was a public workshop on July 18th of 2013, and 5 separate public meetings of the Parks Commission also in 2013. And that finally all culminated in a meeting on February 11th of 2015 to finalize a design for that park that included lit synthetic baseball, softball field, and a lit synthetic soccer lacrosse field. There was concern at that time from the adjacent neighbors, because you have to remember that that area didn't have all those new houses. This was all in the planning stages. And the neighbors that are below the park were very concerned that the sport field light would bleed into private residences, areas of the new neighborhood, and would cause unnecessary light pollution in the area, and would be really an eyesore for them and to residents in the surrounding area. So the Parks Commission at that time, after careful consideration, unanimously approved the Sunrise Ridge Park Master Plan, which did include the synthetic sport fields and lights. And they actually made the following motion. I'm going to read it to you, as it was your predecessor's motion. And 2 of our original commission are still here. So Commissioner Dorlick and Commissioner Lopez Lucy have been here for the long haul and were a part of this motion. So the motion that they made that night was to approve the proposed master plan for the Faria Preserve Neighborhood Park and Rose Garden, with the condition of approval that prior to the use of the sports fields, the Parks and Community Services Commission, with public comment, review the lighting and the effects on the neighborhoods. So per that motion, the Sunrise Ridge Sport Fields have been outfitted with modern, state-of-the-art LED Musco sport field lighting. And I have all kinds of brochures and information that they've provided. So they are the best of the best. It's specifically been designed to keep the light on the fields and not on the adjacent neighborhoods, and to reduce light pollution by directing the light down onto the fields itself. They're still getting them adjusted and set perfectly, because I think they might have had a couple that may not be installed correctly that need to be correctly placed, but that is the lights. All the new residents who have moved into the Faria Preserve neighborhood were provided a disclosure about the park, the sports fields, and specifically the sports lighting. So they've all signed off and they do know about it. As you know, the Parks Commission held a special meeting at the park on January 10th of this year to view the lights and the impact on their surrounding neighborhood. It was a downpour. I just have bad luck with this, with the rain this year. So that in addition to this, a letter was sent to the 900+ residents that live within 1,000 feet of the park, And it was also, that letter was forwarded to an email list of the 68 residents and businesses that in the area that have been following the development since 2013, so that they would be aware of these conversations going on. We did turn the sport field lights on Monday of this week from 6 until 10 p.m. And that would be basically the hours of operation, and the sport field lights will be considered obviously by you this evening. So right now, the city currently schedules sport field lights on 3 of our fields at our 3 parks: San Ramon Central Park, Rancho San Ramon Community Park, and the San Ramon Sports Park. Currently, those lights are all scheduled from dusk until 10 p.m. So in the summertime, when it doesn't get dark till late, they may only be on for an hour or two. In the wintertime, when it gets dark early, they might go on at 5 o'clock and be on till 10. On the weeknights, the youth sports user groups don't tend always to go all the way till 10 o'clock at night if you've got little ones, but adult groups or older teens often do go all the way till 10. The lights are not turned on if the field is not rented. So somebody has to rent the field, and they also rent the lights in order for them to be on. I mean, I think that's important for people to know. So there are days when there aren't lights on because no one's playing on the sports fields on some holidays. There are times it just doesn't happen. Tonight, really, the biggest impact, if we elect to not keep the lights on till 10 o'clock as we do at our other fields, is really on the sports user groups. These fields are significant because they are synthetic. So that means they can be used in the wintertime and they can be used in the evening. So in the winter specifically, when we have rain and it's dark, there's no place for these groups to play. So these fields add to our very small synthetic turf lit field number of fields. So the last point to make also is that if available light rental hours are reduced, the amount of revenue from the light and field revenue rental will be reduced commensurately. So for example, if the field lights are turned off at 9 instead of 10, there'll be a reduction in potential annual revenue of approximately $36,000 annually. We don't have the exact number on this. Is a tough one for us to get because we don't have a synthetic baseball field in San Ramon right now. So we're making some assumptions based on that, but somewhere in that realm. And of course, it's somewhat poignant that you just received this revenue presentation. So we know that we highly subsidize our sport fields for our user groups, and that's a great thing and a good ethic. And I think everybody believes that that's what we should do. But at the same time, there are a lot of costs to maintaining them and keeping them as nice as they are and making them available for those teams to play. So we do need to be able to generate revenue on those fields. So since we've done all this community outreach and since we've gotten ourselves to this point, there have been 3 emails that came in on the commission email. I had Kathy go ahead and print those out for you just so you had hard copies in addition to coming into the email. I would also like to note that the test of the lights was conducted on Monday night of this week. However, the park is still under construction. It does not been accepted by the city, and we are having some electrical issues right now that will be resolved by the time the park opens. So it will all be worked out. But the builder inadvertently had the lights on for 24 hours yesterday, which is maybe bad timing on the situation. But I do feel confident that everyone got a chance to look at the lights. But that was not a part of this. So the lights, for clarity, in case anybody else is watching, should only be on from dusk until 10 p.m. Once the city takes acceptance of the park and we schedule, it's a Musco lighting system that we use. We can adjust the lights online and turn them on and off online. And you won't see this overnight thing happen again. So at this point, I recommend that you ask clarifying questions and then go to public comment for those in attendance, because I know we have people that are here that want to speak, and then discuss the matter and make whatever motion you see fit. And as you know, I'm happy to answer questions. I read through all of those past meetings, so I feel like I have a decent idea of what happened, but you also have Commissioner Lopez Lucy and Commissioner Dorlick here as resources.
All right, we'll start with clarifying questions. Commissioner? Any clarifying questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering what the rental fees look like for the fields depending on the time of day. So like, is it like more expensive because we're turning on the lights for them at the end of the day, or is it the same throughout the day?
There's a field fee and then there's a light fee. So if you only rent the field during the day because you don't need the lights, it's cheaper. But if you need it, the light and the field at night, that's when the price is more expensive because they're two separate fees.
By any chance, do you know the numbers?
I absolutely do, but I have to read it off my staff report because I don't have it off the top of my head. Yeah, thank you. I'm like, where did it go? Where did it go? Well, you probably can see it. It's right there. Thank you, Commissioner Mitra. One more page and I'll be there. There we go. Yeah, the fee for field rental is 44 per hour for co-sponsored group, 59 per hour for residents, and 141 per hour for non-residents. And then the fee for the lights is 28 per hour for residents and co-sponsored sport leagues and 56 per hour for non-residents.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question, clarifying question?
Yeah, I mean. Put it on. David.
No, you go first. Oh, it's not showing up. I think.
Oh, sorry, it's right there. Hey, Kathy. So I am a little worried about when it's being left on all the time. I know that was a mistake, but mistakes are going to happen. So I'm curious how we're going to monitor that, and if it is left on inadvertently, is there a way for like the community to let the city know so that it can get turned off?
Well, that shouldn't occur once it's the city's park. Right now, it's still the developer's park. So we don't have any control over any of it. And they have an electrical issue in the park that's causing, I think, them to think that they flipped the switch off, but they've got a wiring issue somewhere. So they're working on resolving that. We will not accept the park until they have fixed the electric issue. So once it's fixed, then it's controlled by a computer and it's very easy. So you're correct in your assumption that if the lights were left on, the community could contact the Parks and Community Services Department. I would quickly contact Mike Finelli, our supervisor, and he'd pop on his computer and turn it off.
Yeah. But would somebody be able to see that? So say it's like 10 o'clock at night.
They automatically, you pre-program it. And so we schedule it. So we have it so it goes off at 10 o'clock. So there's no way that none of our other lights have ever had this problem.
Okay.
That might help you to.
I understand. Just as someone who works in tech, I know tech doesn't always work as.
Yeah, I've never experienced that the lights got left on, but.
And I was just gonna add, it's Musco Lighting and they are nationally known. I mean, they're lighting every ball field that I can think of, both high school. And so they're the light company and it's never been a problem in all of our other parks that we have lights on. I understand the concern, but we've never run into that issue with Musco. And actually it's better these days than before because now we have remote access where before it was all programmed on site. So if we ran into that problem, someone would have to come to the site and actually physically turn it off or mess with the schedule or whatever, where we have the flexibility that we're at home. And so if we get a late notice from a user group that's not going to be out there, we can actually make that change if we can get a hold of it. But it hasn't been a problem in the past. I don't know if that rests your mind at ease, but with Musco, once it gets set up, it's very reliable.
Right. Thank you.
Vice Chairman.
Thank you. Kathy, so I know 2013, a long time back, right? 13, we had this thing there, and there are a lot of concerns. And I'm imagine there'll be a lot of people, a lot of residents, local residents came and objected to that lighting system or showed concerned about those things. I see your letter. I think that should be a very good way to reach out to local residents. I'm expecting that has reached to all the 900 or 9,000. What is it? Around 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000 feet, about 1,000 people.
1,000 people that we reached out, and probably that is what the impacted area zone is that I'm imagining. Now, I just read through those email feedback right here. Sounded very positive. I mean, I didn't hear back anybody who says I don't like the lighting or anything on that. It's all good. Based on that feedback, if we go ahead and say, yes, let's do this. My only concern is how confident are we that we have reached out to everybody that who could have the concerns before, should have the concern before? Did we find out who those people are and what their concerns were? And I know it is it is a long time back. So it's very difficult to reach out. My only thing is that once we say, oh, okay, go ahead, and then some people come back and say, hey, this is wrong, I don't like it. Then what?
I do hear you. And so I believe that the email group that we sent it to, the 68 individuals that signed up to follow the email were sent the letter as well. And so those are the people who were most concerned about the Faria Preserve development back in 2013. And so that is how we have communicated with that group of people. I believe we even have some of the people here tonight that may see the negative side of the lights. So hopefully you'll be able to hear from them at public comment.
Okay.
But I do feel that we did a pretty decent job of outreach with first our initial meeting that we were out there in January, the letter, the test, and then this meeting to advise a large number of people that live in close proximity to the park, as well as our sports user groups, that we were having this conversation.
Thank you. And I'll just imagine that before we actually start, we send out this kind of a communication again to the people, just to, in case somebody missed that communications.
I'm sorry.
So before we actually go on.
I think what we'll see when we do the grand opening for the park is we'll have a lot of communication on the grand opening.
That's what I meant. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and just as a point of reference, there were, as Director Hyman pointed out, multiple iterations of this particular community over the last 18 years or 20 years, as far as number of units, type of units, location, the park, et cetera. So it's been very well vetted.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and with tremendous community input
Right.
all along the way. So I don't see any other commissioners. Do we have public comment?
We do. Our first public comment comes from Robert Klingner.
Hey, Robert. Yeah, PowerPoint tonight?
Back in, can you hear me?
Yes.
Back in 1972, I worked, I was a university student, a junior, and I worked in the mayor's office. I worked in the mayor's office in San Francisco for Mayor Alioto. We had 750,000 people there, and our budget was 100 million. Just by comparison, government is expensive today. These other folks have gone. But I wanted to comment on that. My name is Robert Klinger. I'm a resident of San Ramon. So I've been involved in this whole thing with regard to this development since 2005 and 2006. At that time, we didn't have anything formal. It was just people, 100 of us that came to all the meetings. So we're sort of aware of all the things that have happened in 2012 and 2013. And thereafter, we had 2,000 people. So there's 15 communities here. The coalition was called Coalition of Northwest Neighborhoods. And we had lots of people on the ground knocking on doors, talking to all the people. If you're there, someone knocked on your door. So we have a pretty good background and understanding of these issues. The thing that most of you don't know because you're new on the commission is item number 1. We talked to, myself personally, talked to the soccer person, the head coach at Stanford and also UC Berkeley for women's soccer. And they said, when you go forward and you put this turf in, they didn't advise that and they didn't want that because they've had all this experience. So they said, don't do it. And the key thing is if the temperature is 90 degrees, and that happens sometimes in San Ramon, you can't play soccer. At the ground level, the temperature is 130 degrees and you burn kids' feet off. So that's one thing that you should consider just as a reminder. That's what they told us. Second thing with regard to the lights. So I gave you guys photos, and I took those with my camera today, and I put them on my computer. They're totally unedited. Didn't do anything. And the first one of two, is for on the east side, and the other one, two of two, is on the west side, and that's on Faria Preserve. And so I watched these guys build these poles back in November, and I just didn't really feel confident in their skills. The thing is they were just putting this stuff together, and they weren't doing it at night, and they weren't sort of trying to figure out what it looked like at night. So I was there between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock on Monday, pouring rain, walking around trying to make some sense of what was happening. But I saw, just to be honest, these on each pole, there's 5 lights, and there's 2 lenses in each light, and you sort of move them around. But they were all wrong. When you look at Faria, some of these shined into the homes nearby. And you have to have expertise, and you have to do this at night. David Gates, who advised us, he was the Gates and Associate. He said, you can make this thing work, but you have to have these lights and face down. And it really takes a lot of trial and error. And you have to have a lot of effort put into that, and you can sort of make it work. But I saw lights.
Wrap up, maybe a little extra.
Thank you.
Regarding San Francisco, but we're a minute over.
I saw lights going back towards Faria, and then also lights by where the soccer field is. Thank you very much.
And those, your photographs were included in the packet then?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great. Next public comment?
Next public comment is from Zlatko Tomic.
Welcome.
Thank you. Just quickly, my name is Latko. I'm the executive director at San Ramon FC. San Ramon FC is the largest sports organization in San Ramon, going on 50 years. This is our 50th anniversary this year. And just wanted to kind of touch on some points that Kathy made and kind of reiterate some things. I think we are really in a necessity of more turf fields, more synthetic turf fields. In terms of our sport, in particular, we have 2 locations with turf fields at the moment. This is a year-round sport. San Ramon FC has 2,200 members this year. And at certain times of the year, in times when we do not have grass fields anymore, which starts in November and goes all the way to March, we have in excess of hundreds of players, hundreds of kids on each field. So just to shorten, this really is not a situation of a luxury. This is really a situation of a necessity. And by our assessment, we are about 4 to 5 turf fields short in being able to provide a service that we would need to provide to our members. And so really here just to kind of bring awareness towards that and awareness towards a large population of San Ramon people living in this community who need this type of service and who are looking to continue working with us as an organization and for us to be able to provide services for those kids. And then ultimately, I think we live in a time when you all, I'm assuming most of you are parents, we live in a time when kids are mostly looking at screens, and it's a big victory if we can get them off the screens and get them playing something and moving and just being in a physical activity type of space. So again, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for listening to all of us. And I'm hoping that we can kind of go with the same pathway like we are with all the other fields that are lit and going till 10 p.m. That 10 p.m. really time frame really helps in a lot of ways in terms of not only from the perspective of revenue and all of these things, but if the lights are going off a little bit earlier, it's also a little bit of a safety issue with a lot of people moving through, and it just gets dark really fast. So that time frame from 9 to 10, even though it's not the most popular time frame to train in, it is a necessity for us, and it helps us from that safety regard as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you for your work in the organization. Do we have any further public comment?
We have another one from Amy Lucido.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me be here. Before I get on into it, I just wanted to thank you all for the amazing living experience in San Ramon. I grew up in another city in California that shall not be named, and I didn't have this experience. And when I moved here 4 years ago, my dad came out, and the first time he came out, he was like, Amy, where's the graffiti? Where's the trash on the ground? And why is everybody waving at me and smiling? I feel like I've gone back in time, and I'm so grateful to live here, and I'm so grateful to raise my kids here. So thank you for that. In regards to the lighting at this field, I am grateful to give back to the community as the president of the San Ramon Bears Youth Football and Cheer Program, the only youth tackle football and cheer program in San Ramon. We're a small organization. We're a nonprofit. It's entirely volunteer-based. We all have jobs. We all have other activities. We can only practice at night. We have to wait until our coaches get off work. A lot of our coaches also coach at the local high schools. So ultimately, our practice hours are between 6 p.m. and around 9 p.m., with the buffer of that 9 to 9:30 being our parent pickup, getting our equipment off the field. So it is imperative for safety reasons, like our soccer folks shared. It's a safety reason that we need to have those lights on. Football, right? So yeah, that's our pitch, to keep our little 6 to 14-year-olds safe to get home at night. It's important that we have the lights on until 10. Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment?
We do. We have one more. Dennis, no?
Nice to see you. I didn't wear this shirt for an effect. I actually went to the California game tonight. My nephew, number 11, is senior pitcher. He's pitching on Friday. We lost, unfortunately, to Dublin, 4-2, but we did good. Kathy, I loved your comments. I went to all those meetings, every single one. I went to every meeting for Ferrer Preserve. I got to know all the builder very well, Pat Toomey, when he was with Lafferty Construction. The reason why I went is because in 2008, it was going to go through Purdue, which it goes through now. In 2014, the Water Resource Board said, no, you have to go through Deerwood, which is where I live. Had a lot of conversations about that. It was because of Pat Toomey that he donated 50 pristine acres to the Water Resource Board that made them go now through Purdue, which made that whole area revitalized. It was never going to be touched. So I was happy about that. About the park, couldn't be happier. I'm a softball guy. When they said they're going to put a softball field, for me, I couldn't be happier about that. But it was scheduled to be 210 feet. And that, you can't play much softball with that. I remember coming to the meeting here and they said, well, there's not that much room. I went to Pat at one of these meetings and brought that up. And he said, well, we have all these nice trees behind that and that's what we have to have. I said, but guys can't hit fly balls to their kids. And what do you do with 210 feet? There's very little you can do. So fine. Went to the next meeting, wanted to talk to him again. He said, oh, we changed it already. It's now 250 feet. So that's what the field is now. And I could not be happier. I brought this ball for you guys to look at. This is the kind of ball you could play with 250 feet. And just stay soft. Start right here.
Thank you.
It's been a dream of mine because I used to coach women's softball at DVC. Isn't that fantastic? It's a ball that will not knock out your eye socket. It's a ball that won't break your nose. And Brad will tell you, the softball they use now, those balls are really hard. And you have to be really skilled to play. Am I right? You got to be really skilled. I played softball all my life. I was all tournament when I was in my 50s. When I stopped playing, it's because my reactions were, well, can I really get down that quickly? Now I've had 2 brand new knees. So I had a dream to have a softball league at that field using that ball, for people like me, plus people like you, people who may not be really skilled at it, who want to get there and play with your friends. You may catch it, you may not, but it won't break your leg. And if your little daughter's out there playing, it won't, mess up her braces. This ball will work on that field. I would like with Brad, known Brad for a long time, I would like to have a league like that. And for seniors, because that's who I am, for people like us, and everyone could use this. This ball really won't go over that fence at 250. This is my original reason for coming up here. But there's another reason. And I wasn't going to even mention it, but now I have to. Kathy mentioned that it's a baseball softball field. Right now, it's only a baseball field. They put a permanent mound, right, my friend? A permanent mound there, okay? Means you can't play softball. And I think before we get too far, I think you can get the builder to take that out. And just, all he has to do is take it out and make it flat. I know it's AstroTurf, but he can do it where everyone can play with it. You can still play baseball. And Brad will tell you, you bring out a portable mount. So Little League could play there if they wanted to. 250 can be Little League. It can be women's softball. I mean, Serve Gal could play there. Also, Cal High could play there. San Ramon could play there. They could have tournaments there. So that's what I would like to happen. And talking to Lunar before it gets too late, because he'll do it. He'll have no problem with that. But this league is a dream of mine for a long time. So everyone can play softball. So that's what I'm here for. We'll talk to Brad. Hopefully you'll tell Brad to go ahead and do that, and you'll instruct him or ask him anything. But that's my dream. Thank you, guys.
Do we have any other public comment? No more public comment. All right, so we'll close public comment. And we will go to questions and comments by commission. So Commissioner Owens will start with, looks like now the vice chair can take a back seat too. Have any comment? Oh, yeah.
All right, so, well, it's questions and comments, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the same thing.
Okay. So Kathy, if for whatever reason we get a resident who says, hey, lights are coming into my house or something, is there the ability to kind of adjust? This isn't just like a static situation, right?
Well,
within reason, obviously it's still going to be bright there, but.
yeah, the lights are very high on these poles. So to get up there and to say, oh, we're going to tweak it a little, I would be a misnomer. However, they're not done yet. And so at this point, we're still, like I told you, there's a couple that they've got positioned wrong. So they need to get them the rest of the way positioned down. They provide a light map once they get it. So we have one now that shows where the spill is on all of it. And then they'll go up and they're still adjusting now. So yes, they can be adjusted to some extent, but I wouldn't want to say that, yeah, it's shining in my bedroom window, we can move the light.
No, that makes sense, but it sounds like there can be adjustments in extraordinary situations.
Yeah, do you know any more about this because of your expertise in sports?
Well, I was just gonna say, you touched on it. There's a lighting map that they go off of when they set it, and it has all the light pixels is probably the wrong word, but the degree of light in the different areas of the field for safety reasons. So that's part of accepting it. And so Musco will come out and make sure that they're meeting all of those lighting standards of that. And so that'll be part of it. And then the same thing when you change out the lights, they're looking at doing it and so on and so forth. So it would definitely be looked at from a safety reasons as well as but all of that is all predetermined based off of the number of lights, the square footage, where they want the light shown. And they have that all part of a formula that's part of a grid that they're working off of.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just, my comment, so I went and drove down Deerwood on Monday night. It is noticeable. So, I can understand residents maybe not liking it. At the same time, the city council, planning commission, us, we all approved this being built. And I think if you're going to have a sports field, it's going to have lights. And I think you guys did as good of a job as you can. I think it's pretty self-contained and it looks great. And I think most of the comments we've got have been very positive. So my comment.
Well, I really like how Dave articulated that, because that's kind of where I'm coming from too. What I'd like to see is to have those lights checked by the professional company again. I did drive by as well they're it's pretty bright. But I think with the expectations established and the communication that has been done up to this point, I feel that everyone's well aware that they're here. I just want to make sure that they're operating properly and that the lights are going down, not out. So I would appreciate another check. I appreciate the feedback about the baseball mound. Taking a look at that as well to see if there's some alternatives that we can do before the park opens up. And I just feel like what we should probably think about is maybe maybe after the summer, maybe doing another kind of a touch base with the neighbors that you did reach out to and the community at large there to just say, we've gone through our first summer, how are you guys doing? Everything, any feedback you can provide, because I was pleased to see that there really wasn't there wasn't negativity about the lights. There was negativity about other things in the park as opposed to the lights. So, but I would like to recommend that we do another follow-up, maybe in the fall when we change our clocks again, to kind of do a touch base with how it worked in the summer. Because I know it will be used a lot in the winter, but I think it will definitely, once it's open, it's going to be used a lot. So I think touching base with the neighbors would be another good neighbor behavior for us to do.
Well, you know, we've been on here for a while, but I mean, I've seen so many places where we've put the lights and we've had time after time of a lot of people coming and being they objected to them. And this one is really, we haven't seen that much. And I think, I'm sure that Moscow, is it whatever it is, they'll probably do probably checks every so often, I would think, for their issues, I would think.
Yeah, it's all part of the maintenance program and I don't know enough about that. So, but I'm assuming when we sign off on the park and the developer signs off on the park, part of that is that Musco's met their obligations for setting the lights at where they are.
Mhm.
And then, we would go from there as far as that and, off of feedback and comments and so on and so forth. And then staffing would take a look at it and continue to evaluate it as it goes.
Yeah, I think the other parks that we've done, we've gone through this with the lighting and everything, and after a few times, they find out that it's, okay. I mean, we went with that with at Cal High with also, and I even lived over the back of that, but I thought it's okay to get some light when you know that the kids are playing there and they're off the streets and whatever. So I think after they see that, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal, but I think if we get a lot of feedback, then I think we'll have to double check it again with the parents. But apparently, they seem to be, most of them, it seems to be that that's okay. So if I say that we have to go ahead with it, I think it'll be fine.
Any other thoughts?
Your team.
Down here, well,
Oh, go ahead.
okay.
I just wanted to say I agree with the other commissioners. I will say that now that we are heading into March and daylight savings has ended, like the entire shift in the daylight has started again. So within a week or two, we're gonna see a lot more daylight comparative to just Monday this week. So I would say if we do one more trial, now that we're not gonna have it run through the entire day this time, hopefully, I would say maybe do it for 2 to 3 days. I feel like it's a little more noticeable when things like that happen, because a lot of times maybe someone's out of town, maybe someone's not paying attention on the one day that it is happening. But if it's happening for 2 to 3 days, for example, it's much more noticeable and people will have much more to comment on it. But it seems like we're in the final stages, so this is just one more final call for evaluation on it.
Anybody else? No. Just wanted to say that, what we just talked about, I think I agree with that. We have a lack of sports field compared to the demand that we have. We see all the sports fields are always busy, and I hear complaints about different sports, they're not getting filled. So having a new sports open up is definitely a good thing, and definitely we should support that. Opening it up when we have a lighting, have it with the lights, is also expands that. So it's also a positive thing for me. Having said that, I would again request, just like everybody else, to reach out more, try to reach out, maybe give a couple of more times to people to just see how it feels like when they leave their lighting on that. But I would strongly suggest not to reduce it to 9 o'clock. One of the proposals that was given in the document, keep it open for 10 o'clock, because that looks like the sports people want to use that and probably will be using it, especially in the summertime. We talked about how hot it could be. So I think we would definitely do that, but with that caution that we should reach out to a couple of more times or have the lights on for a couple of more nights for people to just feel around, whoever lives around that area. But I think definitely support that to keep it on and with the lights at 10 o'clock. Thank you.
All right, any other thoughts? No, then we do need a motion to receive and recommend.
Well, I'll be glad to recommend the action that that we receive the report for this evening, review written and oral public comment, and approve the use of the sports field lighting at Sunrise Ridge between dusk and 10 p.m. daily, or provide direction to staff regarding an alternative light schedule for Sunrise Ridge Park.
But we are recommending dusk at 10 p.m.
That we're recommending that we proceed with this, yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right. Any other questions, comments, discussion?
So for clarity, just to make sure that we've got that correctly, so the commission is recommending that we do the dusk to 10 p.m. schedule availability for the lights at Sunrise Ridge Park. That's why I wanted clarity what the motion is, and that's what you all wanted, so.
Did we?
I haven't either.
Yeah. Okay, so are we gonna put the vote on?
No.
Nobody voted yet, so.
Yeah, it's got a strange message here. It says
Okay, you want to take
defeated.
an oral vote? Let's just take an oral vote so we can move on.
So call each name of the commissioners and they will say yay or nay.
Kyle Levy,
Yay.
Carol Lopez Lucy,
Yes.
Partha Mitra,
Yeah.
Julia Osland,
Yes.
David Owens,
Yes.
and Will Dorlick.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your public comment. We appreciate your involvement in the community and your support of the sports involvement in the city. Thank you guys. And Robert, always good to see you. All right, you've been waiting patiently. So it's time for the library advisory annual report. Turn the page and head to the library. See how they go.
All right, are we ready? All right. Well, thank you, Chair Dorlick, fellow commissioners, members of the public for having us here tonight. My name is Steve Cox. I'm the staff liaison to the Library Advisory Committee, which is why I am here tonight. It is recommended that the Parks and Community Services Commission receive and approve the Library Advisory Committee annual report for 2023, provide feedback to the Library Advisory Committee and staff, and recommend the annual report to be forwarded to the City Council for consideration. Tonight, I'm very excited to introduce Cindy Alpert, who will be giving the library annual report. And I know she's been on the Library Advisory Committee for some time. With that, Cindy. Sorry, Cindy, I thought you were behind me. With that, this is Cindy, and Cindy will now be giving the Library Advisory 2023 annual report.
All right, I guess I do stand up above the I didn't know if I needed to step. So, all right. Good evening. Thank you, commissioners and city staff and guests. Yes, I'm Cindy Alpert. I am here to present the 2023 Library Advisory Committee Annual Report. Unfortunately, Richard Duoth, who is our current chairperson, was unable to attend this evening due to some family matters. And so I am stepping in. Our Library Advisory Committee is made up of 5 people. We actually currently have a full committee, which is nice. We have 5 regular members, 2 alternates, and this past year, 1 alternate was promoted to be on the committee due to Kyle Levy needing to step down. We congratulate him and certainly appreciate his many years of valuable service that he provided to the committee. So, and this is a picture of us. All right, next slide. Charge of the committee. So this is really our foundation. These are the items that are actually part of our bylaws. This is what helps us determine what we're going to focus on, what our goals and objectives are. Just a little bit of background, not sure if you're familiar, but we were actually formed in 1992. So we've been around for a while. We meet quarterly, and we have returned to in-person meetings, which has been nice. We receive regular updates from city staff, library managers, and we provide feedback on matters and presented and discuss them, obviously. And really, our primary purpose is to provide ongoing input to the city of San Ramon and Contra Costa County on the provision and delivery of library services in San Ramon. We serve as liaisons between the community, library, and city on library programs, activities, policies, and facilities. So I'm not going to read all of these up here. I think you can do that. All right, here to talk about our 2023 goals and objectives. So we established 6 goals for 2023. I'll just read the goal and then just give a little bit of commentary towards it. So goal 1, Library Advisory Committee will monitor the retention and use of the library performance standards or library performance metrics outlined in the city's general plan 2035 update. So we did receive a report in April of last year where we reviewed performance standards and metrics. We are very happy to report that our libraries are doing what we intended them to do, and we met all of those standards and metrics for 2023. Goal number 2, the Library Advisory Committee will continue to evaluate library services to ensure San Ramon's library services meet and respond to the evolving needs of the community. So just one comment, we're actually unique in the county library system in that our city is the only city with 2 libraries. So I think we should all feel very special that we have 2 libraries in our community. And at each meeting, we actually receive reports from the 2 community library managers on the services, programs, and their concerns. Both libraries have expanded a lot of their activities and programs this past year as we've, opened up again. And they have a lot of really interesting programs, activities for children, teens, and adults. So if you haven't had a chance to participate in any of them, I would highly encourage you to do that. There's lots of different cultural programs, informative programs, skills-based, and they actually even go off-site now to a couple of our assisted living facilities to do book clubs, which is really nice. Goal number 3. The Library Advisory Committee will continue to monitor the programming and operations of the library at the San Ramon DVC campus and the impact the new facility has on overall library offerings to the community. This one, we unfortunately were unable to really meet. We've deferred that. We had a lot of other priorities. But one thing that we're hoping will help this next year is that we did move our meeting time to start at 6, which gives us an opportunity to actually go into the libraries and host our meetings there. And so we think that'll give us a better opportunity to actually get in and walk around and take a look at some of these things. Number 4, the Library Advisory Committee will monitor the Contra Costa County Library Strategic Plan implementation in San Ramon. So this one was nice. We actually had an update this past year presented by our two community library managers. They were able to provide a very high-level overview of the strategic plan, and the county actually went through a process of updating that. It's available on the Contra Costa County Library webpage if you're interested in looking at it. And the most important, or one of the most important points that was made in the strategic plan is the overarching objective in 2023 for the county libraries was to make a positive impact on our community with a full array of services that meet people where they are. So that's kind of their driving guideline for the county strategic plan. Our most favorite objective, the Library Advisory Committee will review and approve the Story Walk books that are presented by the Youth Services Librarian. And actually, the community manager, Elaine Pedley, does present these. So yes, this is actually the one where we really have the most decision and the most influence. Elaine presents a couple of books every quarter. We get to read them, look at them, hear her feedback, and then we get to decide which book gets put in the Story Walk across the street. It's always difficult to decide. She brings great books, and they're very colorful. They're very easy to read. And the one thing is that we do try to tie the books to the particular season or theme. And so come summertime, we just put a new one out. And come summertime, we've already picked the book, and it'll be one that ties into the summer read program that'll be going on in the library. So another really nice way to integrate those two programs. And then finally, our last goal, receive a presentation on the current hours of library services provided by Contra Costa County and the current city subsidy for additional hours of library services. Again, lots of other priorities last year. We had a couple of special presentations during the year. We were not able to actually receive a report on this, and we're hoping that we'll actually hear something later this year in 2024. Speaking of 2024, we have established goals for 2024, and we're asked to actually tie these goals into the goals and objectives of the San Ramon Parks, Trails, Open Space, and Recreation Master Plan. So on these next two slides, you'll see the 4 primary goals that we believe tie into what we're commissioned to do, so to speak. And I'm not going to read through them, but we really are approaching our goals and objectives this year to really support these key focus areas that, again, we took from the master plan. We also took into consideration the 4 guiding principles in the master plan, and I'm sure you're all very familiar with these. So attempting to include the interconnectivity of these programs, conservation and connection to nature. So I'd say Story Walk is a good example of that. Inclusivity, so making sure that we're meeting the needs of a lot of different groups of people. And then most importantly, balancing the quantity and quality of what's being presented. So again, library is influenced very heavily by the county. So we don't have a lot of say in exactly what they're doing, but we as a city who maintain those facilities can actually help ensure that it's meeting the needs of our community. So our goals and objectives for 2024, we're a very ambitious group. We've actually come up with 7 goals for 2024. I'll just read them very briefly and then just make a comment as to which goal, master plan goal, it kind of ties into. So, and they're very similar to 2023. Library Advisory Committee will monitor the retention and use of library performance standards or library performance metrics as outlined in the city's General Plan 2040 update. Library Advisory Committee will continue to evaluate library services to ensure San Ramon's library services meet and respond to the evolving needs of the community. And then finally, number 3, Library Advisory Committee members will continue to monitor library services offered in San Ramon and visit the San Ramon Library, Doherty Station Library, and the Diablo Valley College libraries throughout the year and report back. So again, we really feel that by moving our meetings to 6 o'clock and in person, and we'll be meeting in libraries, will give us a chance to focus a lot more on our 3rd goal there. And then as far as how these goals tie back to the master plan, they really are all focused on maintaining service levels, tracking performance measures, and then maintaining partnerships. So again, with the different groups that support us. Goals 4, 5, and 6. Library Advisory Committee will continue to monitor the Contra Costa County Library Strategic Plan implementation in San Ramon. Again, expect to hear another update on that from the library managers. Library Advisory Committee will review and approve the Story Walk books that are presented by the community library manager. And then number 6, the Library Advisory Committee will receive a presentation on the current hours of library services provided by Contra Costa County and the city subsidy required to maintain additional hours of library services in the community. As far as which goals in the master plan, these actually support very similar: maintaining service levels, incorporating art and culture in the parks, and then maintaining partnerships. Oh, no. Okay, really quick.
Can extend.
Yeah, okay. Okay, one more goal, number 7.
We gave ourselves enough time.
Okay. All right, our final goal: collaborate with the county and city to explore, process together feedback from the San Ramon Library users on possible service enhancement. So we actually talked about this last year a little bit. We'd really like to hear from the residents. It's been a while since we've had some direct input. Certainly the use of the libraries and the number of people that are attending all the programs is a good indication of how well we're doing, but we will work with our library managers and the city in some way to find a way to gather some information from the community. So those are our 2023 goals and objectives, and then what we hope to be doing this next year. I thank you for your time, and we'll open it up to questions, comments, ideas. All of the above.
I just want to say great presentation. I'm a big fan of the library systems in San Ramon. I like that we have 2 libraries. Lets me go from library to library when books aren't available. I will say that just in terms of the hours thing, like for the libraries, I would definitely consider that as a priority, because there will be days where I'll go to the library and be like, oh, it's closed. And I think it's a very similar experience for many high schoolers, and I will say also like middle schoolers as well. So I just think maybe like considering that as a priority. And I know that you guys have made changes to make your meeting times till 6 p.m. So that should account for all of those. But overall, great presentation and good luck for the upcoming year.
That's true. In this case, I am an alumni.
Yeah.
Hi, Cindy.
Hello, Kyle.
Yeah, this committee is definitely close to my heart, as are the libraries themselves. I think this community is very fortunate to have 2 libraries, both of which are second to none. In terms of the Library Advisory Committee's activities, I did have a suggestion. I think it ties into the second goal for evaluating library services to ensure that the services meet and respond to the evolving needs of the community. One thing that during my time on the committee, which was mostly impacted by COVID in terms of programs not really happening, there is a bit of not a disconnect, but a removal of the committee from the programs, the decisions of about what programs go on. Like you said, a lot of that is done at the county level, and we don't have control over it, and that's fine. But I don't think there's a lot of input from the committee in terms of potential program ideas, or, to be a think tank for potential things that could turn into programs, to be a sounding board. So I would like to see maybe over the next year, maybe a little bit more involvement from the committee and kind of throwing out some program ideas to the library staff. And that's not to say that the library staff doesn't do a great job of communicating what programs are happening, because they absolutely do. It's just, I think that the committee is a bit of an untapped resource in terms of suggestions for potential programs. So that's my comment.
Great.
Well, I know that we visited all the jazz sessions, and my husband especially likes that. And I thought you do the very good job at those, and for your sponsors and everything, those were great. And if I had my grandson here, and my granddaughter here, well, I would go to the library because I think the reading programs for the small children are really very good. And you go in the library and you just feel like you're at home. It's comfortable. So it makes you feel at home and it's a good feeling. So I think you do a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah.
Nice presentation.
Thank you.
And I really like how the committee tied in your goals to our master plan. I really like how you stepped back, took a look at it and tried to see how everything kind of mapped back to it. So thanks for taking that step. And I love all the library programs too, and I love our libraries. So and thank you for your service. for
Oh, you're
years.
welcome.
Thank you.
Michelle.
Hey Cindy, thank you for the
Hey.
presentation. When I was on the Arts Advisory Committee, I was always jealous that you guys got the story walk because I really love the story walk. And this is just for the city. I mean, I think as we build out like City Walk and our parks, I would really want to see more stuff like that. It's one of my favorite things that we do in the city. One idea, I mean, I know there's budget constraints, so I do sort of wish that the library was open on Sunday. I know that may not be possible, but there's been a number of times my wife has said, oh, hey, I have a book to go pick up at the library. And then we always inevitably forget that, hey, it's not open on Sunday. But I know it's tough. We had a presentation on budget earlier. And I think it's a really good idea to ask the residents what we need. Who knows what kids are now wanting and the resources. So I think that's a good idea. But love the library system. I think we have great libraries here. So great work. Thanks.
Excellent. And now you do have the story walk.
So as soon as I leave, they get rid of the story walk?
No. Now that you're on the commission.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
You own the story.
I'm
Yeah,
still
you-
jealous. Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah.
It's okay still
Yeah.
to be jealous, but you do have it now.
It's good to admit things to get emotions out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Emotions.
Well, and if I could add, Commissioner Owens, just real quick on that Sundays, just as a FYI, that was actually a county decision and they did that countywide.
I understand.
So it was a staffing resources on theirs, on their end in regards to that. So it was kind of a countywide decision for the Sundays and it just happened to play out in our community because we were used to having the libraries on Sundays. So that may change going forward, but at least currently that's where they're at right now.
That makes sense. I should have clarified that before.
No,
meeting, but
that's
yeah,
okay. I just wanted to, in case people marched off, we can't technically bring the Sundays back ourselves.
We have no authority. Fair enough. Thanks.
Vice Chair Mitra.
Thank you, Chair Jorlik.
Uh-huh.
Cindy, great presentation as usual, and thank you. Really appreciate that. And again, I was a liaison. I was in library committee. I was liaison, so I have a special connection there. I always feel. I think starting with the presentation with the picture of the team is a great step, great things because the people who volunteer there, it is a great way to appreciate them. The annual report will support with that. So that's on that. Just one quick questions is one of the library, one of our objectives in 2024, and I think it was in 2022 when I was there as a liaison and 23 is committee member going out to different libraries in different times and get back some of the feedback, some of the observations, some of the things that they hear. If we have done this over the last 2-3 years, have we seen any trend of those observations and have we incorporated them any way into the last 2-3 years?
So that's actually, I think, one of the areas that we'll work on a little bit more in this next year is that we had a hard time defining what that criteria would be. And so it was all very subjective. People were going when it was convenient for them. And yes, they would come and report back. And the library manager certainly heard. Whether or not there was actually specific actions taken, I'm not sure. But I know this next year we had already talked about coming up with a little bit more of an objective process to do that. So I'll make a note.
I mean, I thought that idea when it was initially discussed was a great thing because being an advisory committee who are kind of decision making or process that is part of the decision making, knowing what's going on, what's what is not working when kids come, especially since we are trying to get involved the school districts to get the kids into the library, observing personally makes a lot of difference rather than just listening or assuming. So if we can incorporate those observations into our operations programs in some way, I think that will be a great outcome of those efforts that we have put into the last few years.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no other comments, questions, or thoughts. We do need a motion for receive, review, and recommend.
Sure, I propose that we move to approve the Library Advisory Committee Annual Report for 2023 and recommend the annual report be forwarded to the City Council for consideration.
I'll second that motion.
Second, all right. Yeah, there we go. There's mover. Is there a second? Oh, there we
Yeah.
go. Okay. Now we can vote. That worked. Fantastic.
All done.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right, we'll move on to items number 8.4, 8.5, 8.6. These are recommendations following the interviews for the openings on the Library Advisory Committee, Arts Advisory Committee, and the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee. And these will be all presented by Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Chair Dorlick.
You're welcome.
All right, without further ado, the Library Advisory Committee recommendations. The Parks and Community Services Commission recommends Cindy Albert, Richard Dwath, and Mushu Katakota to serve as regular members on the Library Advisory Committee, and Tiffany Yang to serve as an alternate 2, all with terms to expire in 2026. The Library Advisory Committee consists of 5 regular members and 2 alternates. As we all know, this is the time of the year where everybody gets reappointed or the appointments are open. The city clerk listed the vacancies on the city website, social media. We received, there were currently 4 vacancies consisting of the 3 regular member positions and the alternate positions, and we did receive the 4 applications. There was an ad hoc committee consisting of Commissioner Oslin and Commissioner Levy, who did the interviews on Thursday, February 29th, and it recommended those appointments. If it is approved by the commission, we will move it forward for city council approval at the March 26th meeting.
So can we take one action on all 3, or do we need a single action for each 3, for each of them? Okay, so we do need a recommended action for approving the slate for the library committee and move forward to the city council. Do I have a motion?
Go ahead.
You want to go primary this time?
Yeah, why not?
Yes,
Sure,
there you
if
go.
that's okay.
Come on.
Sure, I will move to recommend to the city council the appointment of Cindy Albert, Richard DeWath, Masumi Kataoka, and Tiffany Yang to serve, the first 3 to serve as regular members, and Tiffany Yang to serve as an alternate 2 on the Library Advisory Committee, with the term to expire in March 2026.
And I second that.
All right. Did you hit the button? Yeah, Kyle, you hit the button? Jillian, did you hit the button?
Not yet. I'm coming. There it is.
This is practice on these little iPads.
There we go. All right, and the vote is here and the race is on.
All right, now off to number 2, the Arts Advisory Committee recommendations. The Parks and Community Services Commission recommends Robert Bickle, Lisa Radozowski, and Rajani Vinichakari to serve as regular members on the Arts Advisory Committee with a term to expire in March of 2026.
Okay. I will move that we recommend Robert Bickle, Lisa Radzanowski, and Rajini. Oh, I always mess up her last name. Sorry, Rajini. Vinta Kachari for the Arts Advisory Committee with terms expiring in March 2026, and that we forward it to the City Council.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All right. Bingo. All right. The vote will appear. Let's vote. David, okay, we gotta get your name spelled correctly. David,
What is this coming up? There's a no vote. Why is absent coming up as a no vote?
You know what? Let's not get into that right now. Yeah.
It just does it because there is no vote. So
Right.
that's if you vote. If
Not an
they-
abstention,
there's
it's
not a
not a-
No, it's just a no vote.
Yeah.
All right, next item, the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee recommendations. The Parks and Community Services Commission recommends Richard Adler, Carlos Carzoza, and Juming Tu to serve as regular members on the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee with terms expiring in March 2026.
Excellent. Do we have a motion?
I move that we accept Richard James Adler, and June, who I think how it's pronounced, for the Senior Advisory Committee. Their term expiring on March 2025. And forward-
Six.
or
Six, yep.
And forward it to the City Council.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
Yeah. Good. Okay, I'll second that.
All right, prepare to vote.
Thank you,
It
Commissioners.
passes 6-0. All right, thank you very much. We will move on to 9.1, staff reports, recreation, maintenance, and operations report.
All right, really quickly, there is a lot in this month. So if you did not get a chance to read it, I recommend you go back and read it in detail. There's a lot of really good information. 3 things just to quickly point out. The Native Plant Resource Team, Forest Home Farm hosted its first Native Plant Resource Team meeting. Super cool. It included seed and plant exchange. There's a really nice article on that. Our staff is going great gangbusters for summer hiring. So they've been doing recruitments for summer at both high schools with multiple visits. And of course, the teen job fair were out there as well. So that's kind of an interesting article. And hopefully you noticed that we started another dog park amenity survey in order to get a little more feedback on what to put in the parks. And so that's out there. So definitely go take a look at that yourselves and vote away. We're getting lots of good feedback. Our dog owner families are very vocal and have lots of opinions. So that's very good.
Yeah, when we're forwarding that as well. in the
Good,
community.
excellent, excellent. I think it's a great way to get the feedback. You might have also noticed your other favorite topic, the park shade structures. Public Services installed 8 of them at 5 different parks throughout the city. And the shade structure for the terrace room patio, it looks like it may land this summer. So they had to change it because of the fire district. This is a great article that explains they had to come 20 feet back from the building. And so there's a nice picture in the report. And so you get a sense of it. So there's a ton in there. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you have questions even after this, just give me a call. That's it.
All right, do we have any upcoming events?
I think Commissioner Mitra had a question.
Oh, you had a question about the reports?
Just the shade structure in the parks. I think first of all, I would like to let you know that the local residents really appreciate that. I have few of my friends that just came and basically took me there and said, "You guys did." I said, "I didn't do it. It was the Parks Department did it, but it was really highly appreciated." Just one question. It's looked at me when I went there. It looked at me a little too high. Is that intentionally made it too high, or is it some
It depends
regulations?
which
because of
park you're at. If you tell me which one I can.
I
talk to
was
Public
I
Services
was
and get back to
I
you.
was asked to go to that. What is that called? Forgot the one. That is next to that Windermere area. Creekside.
Bellingham Square maybe, or
Piccadilly Park.
Piccadilly.
Yeah.
I will ask Public Services, but in general terms, they do place them high for vandalism for one thing. So that you don't want them to be easily scalable, climbable, or sit on a pole. And it may also have to do with how much shade it's casting, but I can find out because I don't know
Yeah,
specifically.
because I thought it was just because there was some barbecue pit there. That could be the reason. That's what I thought. But again, when I was there, I saw it was not actually giving the shade just below where
Mhm.
people are standing. It is giving a shade far away because it is so high on that. So I just wondering.
Yeah, and well, of course, it's, the sun. So it should, when the sun is directly overhead
Maybe
the
at the
shade
top,
structure,
it
it should
should help,
come
yeah.
straight down.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, comments, thoughts regaling on the maintenance report? No, we're good.
Which they do a lot of maintenance. You really don't realize how much they do throughout the city. I mean, to keep this up, I mean, all these parks and everything up and I think they do a great job.
Public services is amazing.
Yeah.
I can't give them enough praise because they really, you know, we get a lot of credit all the time because we're doing the flashy events, but it's really public services day in and day out, taking care of the trash, mowing, cleaning, weeding, fixing the irrigation, and taking care of everything that make it look so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do good floats.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go through with commission liaison reports first and then announcements. So, Mr. Owens, Commissioner Owens?
Yeah, sure. So the planning commission in the third Tuesday, they actually just had a city financial outlook presentation, the same one that we had tonight. So I watched that twice. The Innovation and Tech Committee actually met earlier this month.
Oh, come on.
Wow. For real. And it caught me so off guard that I had a commitment and could not go.
You missed the meeting?
I did miss the meeting.
I waited 2 years to attend that meeting.
I know.
Didn't get a chance.
But luckily I connected with Chris Weeks, the staff member, and he said they're kind of reconsidering the committee. There are a lot of like IT members on the committee, and they kind of got on the committee thinking, oh, they're going to do kind of IT stuff. But because of cybersecurity and confidentiality, as you can imagine, they can't really get in and work on the systems, which is what maybe they thought they could do. So they are now reconsidering, hey, is there something else this committee can do? I think they're having a lot of the same conversations that EDAC was having late last year about like, what is our purpose, and is there still a reason for the committee to exist?
Yes.
All right, so this is planning commission for the first week, second week. So there are two meetings. There's supposed to be two meetings. One was on 6th of February because we had the Parks Commission meeting on 31st of January. So we had two meetings here, 6th of February and 5th of March. 5th of March meeting was canceled. So it is just one report, 6th of it. So there was a good presentations on Avalon Bay Apartment Project in BR3A, which is next to just between Parks, City Hall and City Center. It is just one-sided. They talked about the planning. So November 7, 2023, the Planning Commission held a study session and provided initial feedback based on the concept review filled by applicants. January 11th, that is when on 2024, the applicant submitted the preliminary housing development for approval of the Avalon Bay. And it was, there are two buildings that are proposed there are two buildings proposed, two residential complex. One is and totaling of 457 units and is connected with a bridgeways. The northern building, so the backside, is a proposed 7-story multi-residential wrap building. Wrap building in the sense the parking is inside the building, so that cannot be viewed from outside, with additional unit with residential units and totally 11,400 square feet of leasing and residential serving amenities, 640 parking stalls. The southern building, which is close to the Bollinger Canyon, next to the Bollinger Canyon, is a 5-story multi-family building and including courtyard with a pool surrounding in the residential. So rather than the parking, they will have a pool on that. And these two buildings project complies with 7-story, 85 feet height limit that by the City Walk Master Plan. So that was the first agenda item that was presented. There are a lot of questions, back and forth questions answered. So there went on. It was a pretty interesting listening. The second one was a study session, objective design and development standards. So basically there's that in that they talked about what kind of the general plan 2040 updates that they're being made in the housing elements, so that the adoption of the housing element GP 2044. There are a presentation on how staff is moving into the next project phase that is focused on objective design and development standards. So they talked about a lot of zoning ordinance and standards and changes that are being made. So it was again a good thing. So that was on February 6th.
Okay. Student Commissioner Tadapon?
We had our teen council meeting on February 20th. Our next one is going to be next week on Tuesday, third Tuesday of the month. So it's always a week after. We had three big, I guess, approvals of events that the teen council is going to be participating in this month. One has already happened, the teen job fair, which was a great success. I was there at the front as like one of the ushers, so I got to see like the very diverse group of students from all cities, from San Ramon, Pleasanton, Danville, Dublin, who showed up to look for these jobs, and it was a great event. And I think that the value is never lacking. And I like the fact that we didn't allow parents inside this year, which was really great to see, like the teens being independent. I think that was really great, and I hope that that continues in the future as well. The other two big events that we're going to be participating in this month is the Teen Mental Health Summit and Future Success Seminar. It's like a resource fair put on by, I think, the police department and some other groups involved. And that's going to be on March 27th, 6 to 9 p.m. And then we're also participating in the Tri-Valley Youth Advisory Commission retreat. It's basically like a round table for all of the youth advisory groups in the area. So from Danville, Dublin, Pleasanton, Livermore, I believe as well. And we'll all kind of just get together and hear about what each of the committees are doing and how their role in their community has persisted over the years. The other big thing was that we heard from our Wish Tree Ad Hoc Committee and kind of heard their plans for the rest of the year. So their themes, different questions, and their plans for getting little tags on the Wish Tree as well. So this year we're kind of going through getting physical slips as well, but since it's been raining outside, it's not practical to put those slips on the trees because they're going to get ruined anyway. But we're also taking Wish Tree, I guess, notes online as well through the San Ramon website, and we're finding ways to make that a little more, I guess, making it more easier for residents to find and so that they know about it as well. But that's it. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Levin?
Sure. So for me, there was the February 27th City Council meeting. I was unable to attend, but I did watch the recording in detail. There were two main items. One was a presentation from Kristen Connolly, the Contra Costa County Clerk Recorder, about, at that point, it was the upcoming election because that was the following week. It was very informative about the measures they were taking for security and registration methods. It was very, very comprehensive, and they do a great job there. And then the other main item of business was the City Council reviewed and authorized the mid-year 2023 to 24 budget adjustments, which is part of that sort of balancing act that we all heard about earlier this evening. Of interest to this commission is those adjustments included a lot of the costs for Sunrise Ridge Park. So it's coming soon. And that's pretty much what the City Council meeting covered. That's what I got.
Excellent. Thank you. Commissioner Lopez Bougie?
Yes, the seniors met the first Monday of the month. And I thought it was interesting that the gentleman from the county was there giving us statistics and information on what the county can do for seniors. And it was interesting, in 2010, there were 188,000 people who were over the age of 60. And in 2030, there will be 345,000 people over 60. So, so they're really looking into things, how that they can do more things for seniors. So county is developing a playback and work book. It's just in the planning stages now, but it will discussing things like Meals on Wheels, the healthcare is one big thing, the legal services for seniors, caregivers, that's unpaid volunteers, and housing and the health are also included. But they're working on this so that the seniors will be getting to make changes and review it and everything. But it was a lot of increase in people over 60. So that was interesting. The housing for seniors on the list, there's 19,500 in Contra Costa County. There's housing cost burden of 30% income of housing it is. And they're working with the hospitals, John Muir, Kaiser, and all the hospitals on caring for seniors. And transportation, of course, is another big problem, how you get the seniors to health care and to other areas when you don't drive. And they're looking into that more rides can be at a low cost to seniors to get to health places, to the senior center and wherever they need to go for their doctor's appointments and things like that. They're looking into that. So some of the cities, like they brought up, Moraga has, Moraga and Renda have a private company that provides rides at low cost, $5 to $10, depending on how far you want to go. So that was very interesting to find out, you know, what the county is looking at, that they know that they're way behind the cart and taking care of the seniors, and how many seniors that there actually are. The other thing that they went through was the seniors want more programs at the senior center. They want to try and get a hiking and walking group going again. They used to have one. They're going to enhance the gardening there, because there is gardening and it's picked up considerably to what it used to be. I was impressed. Maybe they will have a cooking class on different variations of ethnics of what you can do, health and safety, and maybe more so on dancing, and maybe tips on gardening. But it was very interesting to see how many over 60 seniors that there are in the count, just in the county. So that was interesting to see that they are looking into it and knowing that they need to move quickly because the age is growing rapidly. So that would be basically, it was very interesting, and everyone reported on their programs that they had gone to. And I will say, for the Teen Job Fair, the Dublin San Ramon Women's Club does the mock interviews. They were very successful. And in the kitchen, we did cut back on no cookies. But as I heard walking down the halls and whatever, that they wanted the cookies. So anyway, I guess we go back and the cookies. But I was interesting because I went to Costco and paid for the pizzas. It was $440 for the pizzas. And we did just have enough of pepperoni, but we did have quite a bit left for from cheese pizzas. Last year we ran out of cheese pizzas and had pepperoni left over. So I don't know how you do it. And I had put because I thought that was our purpose, is not to let the adults come into the senior center. And I thought, oh dear, we're going to have a lot of problems. But it worked out really well, and we were really pleased because I put 3 ladies on the front desk who I thought were very stern and does it in a nice manner, but it wasn't a problem at all. And a lot of you teens were so wonderful that you wanted some more to do. So a lot of them went out front and told the parents that they couldn't come in. So that really was fine. And then they wanted more to do. So we gave the flyers and everything to some teens, and they then were the first to meet the other students coming in, and they had a lot of fun and had one-on-one. So it was very successful, but it was a lower turnout. I would say about 100 students less than we had last year, which was really interesting because usually San Ramon in Dublin is the highest because they're the center of the area. But we did have about 100 less, but we did cut down on some costs and things, but we do intend to have no parents allowed because it was so much quieter. And I think everyone enjoyed it much more, but not being so crowded and not having the parents hover over them. So I think it was successful.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got to serve as an interviewer in the afternoon, and I had never done it before, and it was really fun to do that, to meet the kids. And yeah, it was very well done. Maybe you could put the cookies in that room because we kind of got quieter in the afternoon.
Yes, it did.
Make it all come. I just want to point out something I saw on Instagram today. Maybe it's been up for a while, but it's through the Teen Council. And it's the focusing on personal growth, and it caught my eye and I read the slides, and so nice work, really. This must be part of your campaign that you're working on.
The wish tree.
It's really, really nice. How to achieve a mindful mindset and the wish tree. Yeah, it's really lovely. Well done, so.
Each month will be a different theme.
Yeah. Okay, well, good. I'll be looking
Yeah,
for that.
yeah, April and May have a different theme.
And I saved it, my favorites, and then I couldn't find it. So that's how good I am with Instagram, but I found it. So I report out on the Open Space Advisory Committee, and we had our last meeting February 12th. Items of business were to discuss and provide feedback on the urban open space inventory goal. And we've been working on trying to create a layered map. And anyway, we spent a lot of time really, we need to step back. Let's see what we have. And so that's kind of how we left it, that the city will present us with the maps that are currently there, and we'll see if we need to do any more work on it. The other point of discussion was to decide, should we change our meeting day and time? And we decided to do that. So we've pushed our Monday morning, second Monday of the month at 8:30 in the morning has now moved and migrated to the third Monday of the month at 4 o'clock. So we haven't had our March meeting yet, so that's coming up. And
But it
so
should be noted that the teens can now attend because we got it to after
yes,
school.
we need you there. We want you. So please, whoever the liaison is. So City Council, Commissioner Levy and I dance. I do the first of the month, he does the second meeting of the month. So February 13th, I also listened to it on YouTube, but the highlights of this meeting were that Police Chief Carlson recognized the San Ramon Police Department's 2023 Supervisor of the Year, which was Matt Scully, and the Employee of the Year, which was Teresa Sanchez, and the Officer of the Year, Brady McKinney. And it was really nice to see these folks and all that they do for our community. So I wanted to be able to say their names out loud to you guys. The other thing I think that's most important to this group is the San Ramon Valley Tourism Improvement District, which we heard a little bit about tonight from Steve Spadowski. And so it is moving forward to be approved. And so that'll happen, I think, at their next city council meeting. So it's anyways, they have a new person that's going to work, that's going to be leading as a leader for the hotels. The gentleman that spoke with us, he's still involved with it. But anyway, it's moving forward. Then yesterday, I listened to this also on YouTube. This morning, March 12th. The items that are most important to this group are their proclamation declaring March 2024 as Prescription Drug Abuse Awareness Month. And we received a presentation from April Rovero, and she's the founder and executive director of the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse. And so spread the word, one pill can kill. And she brought along two youth ambassadors. They have 32 total youth ambassadors. And so it was really nice to hear them speak as well. And then Andrew Mendez received a big award through CPRS in Palm Springs as the Teen Leadership Program manager. And so he spoke about that, and we should be very proud. Not a lot of the cities do this type of program. Apparently what this does is definitely feeds into the recruitment pool for Parks and Community Services employees, staff, counselors, and they also learn about government, they learn about leadership and about the communities. It's a great program, and obviously we're being recognized for it, and kudos to Andrew. And then the last bit of new business that was discussed is Supervisor Candace Anderson presented last night on the idea of opening up a South County Family Justice Center here in San Ramon. Currently, there are 3 other justice centers, one in North County, which is in Richmond, one in Central County, which is in Concord, and one in East County, which is in Antioch. And basically what these centers offer is interpersonal support for folks that are involved in or victims of interpersonal violence, domestic, sexual, child abuse, elder abuse, and human trafficking. And so the city council received the presentation on the idea of this becoming a part of this San Ramon. So that's all I have.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. Arts Advisory Committee, we all met together, so you know what happened. All right, and the Performing Arts Series on it was March 6th.
Sunday is,
No, the last one on with.
the Tina Turner.
Yeah, it was very,
How was that?
it was very
Was
good.
it fun? Was
Oh,
it,
it was
was
fantastic.
it filled? Did we sell out?
That wasn't Bill.
No, it was about 80%,
I wanted to do.
maybe
it, but it just
85%.
wasn't the right date.
My husband's here.
Yeah, it was like 450 was the total ticket sales. So it was a good,
Dead when we got home,
Oh, dear. Okay.
because apparently they take in all the sound also, I guess,
Oh.
but because there was nothing left that we had to go. We had to put new batteries.
My watch didn't say loud environment. It didn't say that, so. I don't know. Anyway, that was great.
I love it.
Is sold out, but we still have the April 21st, Tazar with Sakir is there. There's still tickets available for that. And then Lady K and the King of Swings is April 20th. I believe it is. Are they at the Front Row Theater? Lady K and the King of Swings?
I think so.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure.
Doing,
Sorry, I was getting to my trivia.
Yeah, doing jazz classics with a great vocalist as well. So, coming up.
Look on the back cover. That's usually where that's my cheat sheet.
Yeah, April 20th.
Doesn't say the location.
All right, anything else for the good of the community or the commission?
I will say that the Devon San Ramon Women's Club picked up the art from 35 schools today. And I don't have them all together yet. That'll be next week where we sort them and probably be about 300 to 350 pieces that will be judged, and then we'll hang them in April at the San Ramon Gallery. Lindsay, they're nice.
Excellent, Look forward to that. And the reception will be the first Saturday,
The Saturday of April.
the last Saturday of April. Okay,
That's when the winners will be recognized with their parents and teachers. And then art will be returned to the school the first week of May.
okay, we're gonna let the parents in for this one?
Parents may accompany their winners,
Okay,
but it's not open to everyone.
right, okay.
We usually have 150 people attend,
Yeah, I'd encourage members of the commission to
but.
go to one of those.
A couple of the pieces that I picked up today, a couple of schools were excellent, so.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your attention, for your questions, for your comments, and for your service. We will adjourn the meeting at, what the heck time is it? Well, that clock's a little slow, but it says it's 21:45 on the 13th. We're good.